All right, think about Antarctica for a moment. What comes to mind? Probably, vast ice fields, maybe some science bases, penguins. It's seen as this last great wilderness. But what if that picture, the one we all know, is just one layer, maybe deliberately hiding something much stranger? And today, we're going to dive deep into a whole stack of sources suggesting Antarctica holds secrets, well, secrets far more profound than we usually imagine.
That's right. And our mission here really is to navigate these different accounts. We're talking ancient maps, modern military whistleblower claims,
Yeah.
a real mix. We're not trying to prove them true necessarily, but to explore the stories themselves. Why do these ideas persist? What are the really intriguing bits about what some people believe is hidden there? It's about understanding the sheer scope of these alternative views, these histories, and the questions they force us to ask.
Okay, so we'll be looking at alleged government cover-ups, some incredibly detailed eyewitness accounts, those historical maps that seem, well, almost impossible for their time, and these really mind-bending theories about what's miles beneath the ice. So yeah, prepare to look at the seventh continent in a totally different way.
Mhm.
Okay, let's start with maybe the biggest claims. This idea of a massive ancient civilization, like
Yeah.
a lost city, maybe, preserved under all that ice. It sounds like pure fiction, but what are the sources actually saying?
Well, what's fascinating is how far back some of this goes. You've got the Piri Reis map, for example. Now, this is a real map, 16th century Ottoman. But the claim surrounding it in these sources is that it shows Antarctica's coastline without the ice. It supposedly details the land under the ice,
Oh.
centuries before we had radar or anything like that to map it ourselves. I mean, if that's even partly accurate, it suggests knowledge that frankly shouldn't have been possible back then. It really makes you question what ancient explorers or map makers knew.
And it gets way more specific than just maps, right? Some accounts talk about a huge industrial complex, like 2 miles under the ice.
Yeah, descriptions of actual buildings, human-looking structures, apparently, even smoke and steam, like something's active down there.
There's this one really vivid story about giant submarines, not like regular military ones, but huge transport types coming up through the ice and being unloaded by massive cranes, pulling out big containers, and ongoing excavations like a dig site.
Exactly. The level of detail is quite striking. And that ties into other claims, like the one about the U.S. government supposedly trying to block a video. This video, the story goes, was found by Navy rescuers down there, and it apparently showed this huge archaeological dig 2 miles deep actively happening. Now, whether that video exists or not, the specificity of the claim, a blocked video, a deep dig, that's what keeps these stories alive.
And it's not just industrial stuff. There are claims about pyramids.
Factual
Actually,
pyramids.
yeah, of course, it's talking about colossal structures.
Yeah.
Two found maybe 10 miles inland, and a third one supposedly clearly visible right from the ocean. There's even talk within these circles about planning expeditions to get to one of these pyramids to figure out, is it natural or is it definitely man-made?
Yeah.
Or something else made?
hmm And these pyramid claims, naturally, they feed into that broader theory, the idea of advanced civilizations existing way before ours. The concept usually pushed is that their advancements weren't like mechanical in the way we think of technology now. It was more about mastering esoteric sciences, which generally means, understanding hidden natural laws, maybe energy, consciousness, things that allowed them to do stuff we find impossible. And within that whole framework, some theories flat out suggest Antarctica. That's Atlantis, the real one.
Okay, so if you had these advanced people there, what was Antarctica like back then? The sources suggest it wasn't always ice, right? I've seen claims it was tropical. A huge jungle, like 65,000 square miles of it. And then, this is the dramatic part, it got flash frozen super quickly. Some accounts, even linking back to Plato, suggest maybe it happened in a single day, the cataclysm.
Right. And what's interesting is how they try to back this up with purported details. We know for a fact there are huge subglacial lakes under the ice today. Radar shows them as these blue areas. And yeah, some definitely have warm water from geothermal heat. Now connect that to the 1754 buoy map from the Vatican archives, apparently. This map, made centuries ago, supposedly shows Antarctica with a channel right where some of these big subglacial lake systems are, decades, centuries before we knew they were there. For people who believe this stuff, that kind of alignment, that apparent foreknowledge, feels like strong evidence, even if it's circumstantial.
Okay, so from this, like, ancient frozen past, the sources also shift gears. They talk about more recent stuff, but just as secret. Hidden bases, military operations. What's the story there?
Yeah, a lot of focus goes on to World War II. There's this persistent claim that the Nazis, especially as the war turned against them, moved a lot of their advanced R&D, their secret projects, to Antarctica, supposedly setting up bases in natural caves, huge tunnel systems under the ice. One of the wildest accounts is a personal story from someone claiming they visited a Nazi base, said it was under hot springs, described a cavern a mile high, its own weather inside, big enough for 19 U-boats. And get this, they also claim there was a 14th century Viking base nearby, too.
Wow, a Nazi base and a Viking base in Antarctica. I mean,
Okay.
that's definitely not in the history books.
Yeah.
What kind of backing do these sources offer for something that huge?
Well, the sources aren't history books, obviously. They often focus on the supposed scale of these underground networks. They talk about a large rift system, maybe the West Antarctic Rift System we know exists geologically, but the claim is it was tunneled out by some ancient alien race. The idea presented is that this system allows submarines or some kind of craft to travel underwater from Antarctica all the way to Central America, even the U.S. Southwest. It's a really elaborate, very speculative narrative.
And it's not just underground stuff. There's also this high strangeness, as some call it, happening above ground, too, in the sky on the ice. We have that account from the retired Navy petty officer, Brian, from the mid-90s. He and his C-130 crew apparently saw these silver discs moving incredibly fast over the Transantarctic Mountains, not just once, but multiple times.
Yeah, Brian's account is pretty detailed. He also talks about an emergency medevac flight where they had to fly into a supposed no-fly zone near the South Pole. And what they apparently saw there was, well, deeply unsettling, a massive hole in the ice, just a huge opening. Big enough, he said, to fly a C-130 into, something that just shouldn't be there.
And then things got even weirder. Later, near Marie Byrd Land, wasn't there something about scientists disappearing?
Yeah, like dozens of them just vanished for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Then they reappeared, and Brian's crew flew them out. And they were all just silent, shaken up, scared looking. And the crucial part, Brian and his crew were supposedly told very clearly, do not talk about the silver discs, don't talk about the hole, don't talk about the scientists. They were told repeatedly, apparently, you did not see what you kept seeing.
Exactly. That part of the narrative points directly at an alleged concerted effort to control information, keep it quiet. The emphasis on just verbal orders, no paper trail with NDAs, suggests to proponents a deliberate strategy to manage what people know or think they know about these really weird events down there. Okay, as if hidden cities and secret bases and UFOs weren't enough. Some of these sources go even further. They talk about actual beings in Antarctica. What are those claims like?
Yeah, some of the claims get into really fantastical territory here, like stories of giants who've supposedly been hibernating in stasis chambers for thousands of years, and now, allegedly, they're waking up, and elite military forces are supposedly trying to find them or deal with them. There's even a specific claim tied to a geologist, Scott Amundsen, whose team supposedly found the rubble of a stone building, massive, like the size of the Colosseum in Rome, and speculation that it's linked to these giants.
Yeah, and there's a specific type mentioned, too. Pryomites.
Yeah.
What are they supposed to be?
Right, the Pryomites. The sources describe them as a genetically engineered species, supposedly before humans. They're described with very specific features. Much longer skulls, sometimes going straight back, other times flattened or widened, like some gray alien depictions. Taller, more vertebrae in their spines, giving them this kind of pot-belly look, which some compare to images of the Egyptian pharaoh Akhenaten. These detailed descriptions are used to argue for, a distinct non-human lineage that messes up our whole accepted timeline of life on Earth. And the claims get really specific, talking about an ongoing operation supposedly for over 12 years now to remove these mummified beings, along with flash-frozen dinosaurs and mastodons, some supposedly 3 times the size of elephants, using advanced tech, filming everything. Some sources even talk about future tours of these ruins being planned.
Wow, that connects ancient myths to modern black ops, essentially. Okay, let's broaden out to technology. I remember years ago the White House statement about finding that Martian meteor in Antarctica with fossilized microbes. But what else do these sources claim technologically?
Yeah, beyond the meteor, there's a lot of speculation in these accounts about lost ancient technology, sometimes even off-planet tech. You hear descriptions of incredible energy forces or waveforms coming from Antarctica, like a giant dormant transmitter suddenly switching on or some huge power source being tapped. And then you have these reports from people who claim they've actually been beneath the ice. And they don't describe ice caves, they describe a tropical paradise, which implies, unbelievably advanced climate control or some hidden geothermal reality.
Given all this ancient cities, giants, Nazi bases, weird tech, maybe it starts to make sense why so many powerful people seem interested. I mean, the list is kind of startling. The Pope, the head of the Russian Orthodox Church, Patriarch Kirill, Putin, John Kerry, Obama, Buzz Aldrin, all supposedly visiting Antarctica, sometimes really close together. What's the explanation offered in these sources?
Well, from the perspective of these claims, it makes perfect sense. Antarctica is remote, access is incredibly restricted. It's the perfect place, they argue, for black
Right.
projects. Secret government operations, off the books. The fact that all the nations with bases there guard their activities so closely feeds the idea that something is going on, something big, maybe technological, maybe defense related, maybe a discovery that could change everything. So seeing all these high profile leaders from totally different spheres making these trips, it definitely fuels that speculation. You have to ask, what would possibly draw them all to the coldest, most desolate place on Earth?
Wow. Okay, so just to recap, we've covered an incredible amount today. Everything from ancient lost cities and pyramids under the ice, to claims of secret Nazi bases, maybe even Viking ones, vast tunnel systems possibly made by aliens,
Yeah.
giant beings waking up, military cover-ups of UFOs and missing scientists. It really does paint a picture of Antarctica as way more mysterious and active than the usual image.
It really does. The sheer range of these accounts and how some details echo across different unrelated sources, it's striking. Even if you find the claims hard to believe, it definitely challenges our standard view, doesn't it? And it certainly sparks your imagination about what could actually be down there beneath all that ice, and about the kinds of stories we tell about the truly unknown parts of our world.
So what do you take away from all this? I mean, listening to these claims, exploring them like we have, how does it change how you think about Antarctica, even a little?
Yeah.
And what else could be hidden there? Could it really be, like some sources hint, a key to unlocking parts of our history we don't know about? Or maybe even pointing towards the future?
I think the biggest takeaway is that if even a tiny fraction of any of this turned out to have some truth to it, well, it would fundamentally change everything: our history, our origins, maybe even our place in the universe. It really poses that profound question: what knowledge is still out there waiting to be found? Or perhaps what knowledge is already known but just waiting to be revealed?